Hello. Eh,
Hey,
I guess Ishan, we might be having a technical issue. We are not able to hear you, or probably it's just me.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute.
Oh,
So, hello everyone. Hi Anubhav, hi Aneet. Uh, and thanks everyone for joining us. So, who are watching us live, right?
Ishan, Anubhav, how are you guys doing?
very good. How are you, Aneet? Hi, Shan.
Yeah, we're doing good. Long
And
time.
15 minutes back, and then both my computers decided not to work tonight.
But thank God it's working on mobile. So, I wonder if we can change, the orientation of the camera. But
It looks weird, is it?
it looks good. It looks perfect.
Okay,
Yeah, nice.
awesome.
All right. So thank you all for joining, for watching us live, and like if you're watching the recording later, we this will also be stored on YouTube channel where you're watching this. So let's start off. We've got a very special guest with us today, Anubhav Kapoor. We'll go in with introductions with him. We'll start with myself and then Haneet. So, just a quick introduction about myself. Myself, Ishan. I'm a certified technical architect and a ServiceNow MVP. Just currently working with UI as a manager solution architect. And yeah, we usually do these live streams, but we have been, caught up with our lives. So we're back at it again. So yeah, over to you, Haneet.
Thanks, Ishan, and welcome to the stream, Anubhav. I think this is the first having this sort of um, you know, the format of the session because we talked about non-technical stuff before. I guess, yeah, may or may not have.
Man,
Uh,
yeah,
My name is Harneet. I'm the platform architect working at Volpe. I'm a certified technical architect as well. So three of us, and I've been an MVP before. And yeah, I mean, like Ishan and I love doing these sort of podcasts, live streams together. But yeah, and we invite folks to our podcast. Talk about technology in general, ServiceNow, stuff that's happening around ServiceNow. Yeah, so yeah, that's me. So what do you?
nice.
Hey, hi. This is Anubhav Kapoor. I'm a principal technical consultant with ServiceNow, based out in New Jersey, working 15 plus years of IT experience and around 8 years of ServiceNow experience. I started with Geneva, Helsinki version of ServiceNow, and then moved on to where Ishan is working, EY, and then I hopped on to ServiceNow 4 years ago. Yeah, excited to be here.
Nice. So, Anubhav, I think he's underquoting himself. Like he's not telling all the secrets about himself. So, Anubhav he's also written a book on ServiceNow, which is I think available on Amazon for just $1. So it's not like a lot of cost.
And there's,
And
there's a story behind that $1, the pricing of that book.
would you like to talk about it a little? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a venture that I started, writing as a notes, and then it converted into a book. However, I always believed that this, any source of knowledge or any source of education should be at a minimal cost, so that it can be available to almost everyone around the globe. And I got this idea from Ishan, where going with a publisher rather than going with the publisher, self-publish the book and put it at a pricing which is at least it's not for charity, but there's something coming, some revenue coming from it, and the revenue that comes from it goes to another charity of mine that I'm linked to. Yeah, thanks Ishan for sharing that idea.
It's really amazing, Anubhav. I didn't know that about you. Hmm.
Nice.
And
So
on the similar grounds as Ishan and Harneet, I almost slipped off my mind. I'm also a certified technical
yeah.
architect. I never mentioned that.
Yes, and again, Anubhav also writes blogs and he's created a lot of Quizlets as well online for practice exams and everything. So he's again he would have easily been a part of the MBB as well, but he's a ServiceNow employee. So nice. All right.
Yeah, with Anubhav's 15 years of experience and almost 8 I guess I started way back in Helsinki version as well, so probably able to relate to everything that you've just said. But I think yeah, it will be really interesting for us and for everybody who might be watching this now or later to understand what your journey has been, and then probably we'll just take like how did you iron out your resumes and stuff like that. So probably we'll just start with how your career has been. When did you start? How did you come into service now?
Mhm.
And
So it's quite an interesting story, and I almost share these three to four things about myself in almost every customer interview or any one-to-one talks. I started with I had when I started my career, I had this long favorite SAP world. So I wanted to be in SAP, but I ended up being in Java. But after a period of time, so I was in SAP Labs for quite some time, around 5.5 years. I worked onto that platform, worked a lot into integrations, and then I got a break around 8 years back when someone told me, okay, let's you are a UI person, you work into mobile programming. Let's start working with portals. And in Helsinki, if you remember, Harneet,
service
a,
portal.
a new portal came from Helsinki to Geneva to Helsinki, and I implemented that project. And thereof, my again change of streams happened from SAP World to ServiceNow. And since then, I've been I'm not much into the limelight. I like being in the back seat, and start doing creating some collaterals or doing the stuff, the platform stuff for most of the dev community out there. Yeah, and that's my love with ServiceNow started, and it ended up being in ServiceNow 3.5 years back, when someone gave me a break of working with integrations, workflow designer, and all of that cool stuff. And here we are with Gen AI generation.
You
Nice.
literally seen a shift of things happening because you saw the service portal coming in because that's when you started your journey with service now then you got into the product in itself, which is a really good thing. It's inspiring journey actually. Then now you're seeing it growing. You're looking at all the Gen AI capabilities it has brought up, and probably it's going to help us uh, in our jobs. Obviously, it's not going to take our jobs away. So anybody who's still thinking that Gen AI might take our jobs away, probably.
Yeah, as they say that you can be as good as a tool, right? So if you know how to leverage a tool, I hate calling ServiceNow a tool right now, but if you love and you know how to leverage ServiceNow, you can be as good candidate for any kind of role.
Nice. That's great. And like Neet, I already know a lot of it, and good. Like me and myself and Anubhav have been connected for a while, and it's something along the similar lines, right? As you and I connected on LinkedIn, like we spoke and like we've been in touch. Similarly with Anubhav, so we have started having a chat on LinkedIn, and it has been just going and in a lot of ways. So you know, personally, professionally, so all the ideas. So yeah,
I think most of the connections basically start on LinkedIn. I think before everything gets into the resume phase, I think the best platform I've identified, and I think Ishan, probably you and Anubhav might have felt the same as well. So reaching out to people, talking to them, actually getting into a conversation about something that you guys are like, you both are very excited about. It a lot of good things and does help you in your career as well.
Right, and I'll say that most of my ServiceNow connections started with when I visited Knowledge 18 and 19, and after that, all this COVID came, and we sat on the corners. But most of my connections started then and there, and then it went on to from community to LinkedIn journey, and that's where I give most. And as the topic of our discussion, so that's where I give most of the emphasis. Relating yourself to community, dev community, ServiceNow community, and being able to build connections, real a kind of real connections on the LinkedIn. Like me and Nishan, we have been in touch for maybe a couple of or more
yeah,
years.
more than a couple of years for sure. Yes.
Right. And we try to do one-to-one talks, complement each other on various topics of service now. more personal than ServiceNow, I would say. But this is where the groundwork starts, when you start connecting with a lot of connections on the LinkedIn, as well as going on the community. Maybe it is a snug
Meetup or
meetup, or one-to-one chats like this one, casual topics. So that's what lay the foundation.
right. All right. So I think we can, start with what we are here to talk about. It's a very crucial part of one's profile, which is a resume. So just to, whenever we apply a job, I think resume plays a very vital role. I have heard lots of lot of things about resumes, being rejected on the way they are drafted. If there are, certain keywords missing, they just automatically, there are systems in the back, you know, before even anyone having a look at it, you are rejected from a particular job. So, to just to start with, what what would be the basics, or we can say the key elements one should look at from a ServiceNow professional resume, the items that one can include in the resume.
Yeah, I'll say, a couple of things. First being, one resume fits all jobs, all kind of openings. That is not true. Again, if you're applying for an architect, if you're applying for a consultant, or even if you're applying for a solution consultant, any kind of different profiles, you need to have those targeted resumes within your kitty, so that one, at least minimum three, I would say, minimum three profiles, three living and breathing profiles, in sort of PDF or Word. You should have to apply for different set of personas in the industry. Now, the second thing being, we have seen black and white ages, like Harneet talked about, right? You have seen Geneva, and now you are Xanadu. Now the next one is there again, even before we realized. So getting onto traditional resumes, where it was like 7 to 8 pages, or maybe 3 to 4 pages, is long gone. Those kind of things. There are AI tools to filter out your resumes even before the real person sees, or a hiring manager or resource manager sees your resume, right? So putting putting all your projects or your implementations into one project, I've seen many of those kind of resumes, and still I find 6 out of 10 6 out of 10 CVs like those. So putting all of your implementations of projects or customers into one resume, no, it is now age of the past, right? So how to better that, as we progress, we'll talk about that, how to put, and where to put, what to put, and why to put. Yeah.
Nice. Aneet, do you have any?
No, that's a really good point. So I think just to add a few bits, I mean, since I've joined here at WorldPay, it's been about 2.5 months. But yeah, we have been taking a lot of interviews here as well. And I think, Anubhav, everything that you said. So if I look at a resume which is 4 pages long, even though if it has passed all the checks and, hiring manager, so the HR has looked at it and still come through us, what I still think is like, as a person who's supposed to take an interview, I may or may not have enough time to actually just scan through all the 4 pages. So if it's a summarized view, say a page and a half, I can actually get a good summary of what you have done, and then that also gives the interviewer and the interviewee a sort of open space to ask questions, because I've looked at what you've done, then probably I have more chances to ask you questions, and then you have the proper time to answer those questions, rather than me sitting on the resume and just looking at those 4 or 6 pages worth long, and then trying to find what sort of questions can I ask. And there are people, they just dump stuff on the resume. I guess I've come across those resumes before, where they'll write, I've done notifications on this project, I've done notifications on this project, I've done
Yeah.
notifications on this project as well. Like, you're just repeating the same information across.
Mm,
There's nothing unique that you have done on that project, I guess. I mean, that's what I look for. So what's sort of unique out of those things. And if I'm supposed to read 4 pages, yeah, it's a big. I mean, profiles could be good, but yeah, it sometimes just puts me off.
Right. So the key thing that I always, tell to my uh, mentees who are coming to me for creating their profiles, I always say keep it to top three, because again the system or the hiring manager doesn't have that time to go through your entire lifelong journey. So keep those three things. Maybe if you are certified, let's keep it to top three certifications: CTA, or implementations, specialist of, let's say, domain separation service provider, or software asset management, though, or CSM. Let's keep it to top three. Or if you are mentioning your customers, keep it to top three, but variety of customers. Let's say, you have worked for a federal or government customer, you have worked for commercial customers. So keep those top three to put and to mention, how different sort of projects you have handled. And the last bit I would talk is, keep those three different roles that you have played onto the projects. Let's say if I am a solution architect in one of the projects, okay, these are the top three things I have done. Then the second role I have played as a technical consultant, I'll mention that. Then I have played as a integrations architect, I'll mention that. But top three roles, but variety of data. So top three, but a mix of all of it.
Yeah. The other thing, like I have been hearing about is like similar to what Haneet mentioned. Like everyone like writes down, I've written business rules, notifications, and like if you are, already in that space, and if you are already, applying for a particular role, you have been a developer. Everyone knows that you would be doing those things, like because everyone works around with the platform, right? So something that I have heard in my experience is giving out those key pointers, like what was the outcome of the project that you did. So something like it's almost like submitting ideas for creating on a knowledge, right? So quantifying like what was the outcome or the benefits of something sim like we mm, I have worked on with the integration of ETL and saved 10,000 hours for one of my client. So that is where they it brings that value. And when you go to the interviewer will ask you questions. Okay, so what did you do in this? What was the and then you can include, okay, I created notifications, I created this, I created get log item. I mean, then you can talk about all those things. But when that wow factor comes, if you put that quanti if you quantify the output there or the value there, I think you know
Now, Ishan, based on the similar thought, I remembered one story, seeing one resume, and I believe Earl has posted one comment that, not just a top three, but what you positively change in each of those things. So I remembered one of the incidents where I had a unique resume, and it had a mention of a section called POCs to project, or POCs to successful projects, right? So what that guy has mentioned was, those five POCs which he did and which were unique, and that made out to a successful project and how it benefited the customer, maybe saving 10,000 hours, or other parameters, other metrics. But that was a different section, and he illustrated on the interview a very detailed, synopsis of each and every POC, and each and every POC was different in every sort. So that's one of the sections which really, impacted me. That was
yeah,
POC to successful projects.
I think
nice.
I have a very similar aspect on my resume as well. So what I do is, so every project that I've worked on, or probably I actually list down all the projects, but what I do is I add more information to the very recent projects, or something unique that I may have done on the projects. But right at the beginning of each and every project, what I do mention is the problems that I've solved, or any critical use case that I might have picked up. Say as an example, I think Ishan, you're talking about saving 10,000 plus hours using ETL. So what was the use case behind it, and what were the critical solutions or critical problems the client had, and what was that unique solution I produced as part of being a developer, being a technical architect, or as a consultant. What was I able to give as a benefit or as an output. I think I try and mention that on on my resume as well. I mean, these are really key pieces. And I think, I mean, sorry, Anubhav, the question I may have, I think when somebody looks at a resume, or probably when some mentees to you to have a look at their resumes, what do you prefer to have like right at the top of the resume? Like, because that's the first thing a person would be looking at. That's the first people would judge you at. What do you expect like right on the landing part of the resume?
So that's a good question, Harneet, because I was jumping to that piece. Now, whatever my experience have been of coaching several people out, I like to see the summary. Like, as an example, Ishan is there, and if Ishan gives me his CV, I would like to see, okay, he's the MVP. Okay, he has helped n number of customers. Okay, he has worked on and top three, top five domain set of things, because it matters to me how vocal he or how engaged he is with the customers, as well as how much brand he has built over the community to build a brand within the same team which is coming in, right? Because if he comes to the team, he would come with x plus numbers of experience, and he would have to coach or mentee or mentor some of the guys out on the team. So that's what I would like to see Ishan. Or maybe if there is some, as an example, second example can be of a developer coming in. Now developer would have to mention, that resume or that CV would be entirely different from Ishan's one. So it depends on what kind of experience or what kind of profile you carry, and to convert that into a CV. So one tip I would like to give to all the audiences who are listening: keep your profile, start drafting it. If you have not done so right from day zero or day one, start drafting it. Keep it as living and breathing document, right? This is how you will relate to your work, and maybe filter out few things. Like, tomorrow I do Gen AI POC, but I'll remove the old POC and I put in Gen AI, because that's one of the most recent, the latest and the greatest one that I've done, right? So keep it as a living and breathing document, maybe on a cloud or maybe on your desktop somewhere.
Nice. And just one thing that I usually do when and off I get time during the time of the year is I have I've got an Excel wherein I try to put in all my projects that I've been working on, I've been involved in, type of client, like let's say it's a finance, retail, utilities. What was the module that I worked on? Was it a custom application? Was it like a particular ITSM, ITAM, ITOM, whatever it was, right? And what I did on that. So just that I do have a track, and even I have seen in past couple of times like where there was asked like what projects have you worked on, like, and it comes really handy because putting down, remembering 7 years, you forget the little things that you do that have gotten out great value to the client. But if you maintain that Excel, not regularly updating a resume, if you just maintain that Excel as well, and whenever there is a need, like you're planning to make a career move, maybe you can put that all in summary in your resume.
Right. So again, one story I remembered, Ishan, from one of the candidates who did a similar sort of thing, but there are a couple of tips I will mention. So one of the tips he did was he created a similar sort of Excel, and that this is very recent. What he has done. He used the Copilot tool to draft his Excel into a PowerPoint, and then sent his resume into a PowerPoint rather than a PDF or a Word document. So that was unique to me, because after several years, I have seen a resume in PowerPoint. But
Mhm.
that two-page of bio or PowerPoint slide, whatever you want to call it, was unique, along with his LinkedIn and GitHub, links inside the footer, and all sort of glorifying work, whatever he has done. So that was unique to me. The second tip I would like to give is, leveraging the ServiceNow resume that's on the Now Learning profile. So that is also one of the hyperlinks you can mention, leverage, put a snapshot, whatever you want to do. But leveraging out that is probably a good bit in your resume.
Nice.
I think I totally agree because I think for pro coders, like people who are working on full stack stuff, so they actually put up their profiles. So if they've done codes, I think they obviously put up their GitHub profiles. They also had like their hacker rank profiles, stuff like that. So if they've participated in coding challenges, they would have put up their ranks. I think this is just to glorify, or probably it's more like coming out and telling people, okay, this is what I've done, rather than I mean, it's an easy way of saying, so this is where I stand, compared to the other developers. And I think a key thing that you were just mentioning earlier, right? So when you talk about your landing page of your resume, talking about stuff that you've actually done apart from being a developer or apart from being a consultant. So stuff like community question answers, probably attended at developer meetups or being at knowledge. I think these kind of stuffs basically stand you out compared to the other candidates. So really good idea.
Now another bit I remembered 3 years ago when I drafted my resume and picking up a Microsoft template. I did that, and now there are many AI tools, whom you just put in your old resume and they would get the format of your new generated content. But one bit what I remembered, and this is the trick, this is the tip and trick I got from one of the UX designers who used to design Google in Google. So he always said that take a breathing space into your resume, put all the accomplishments, and your summary or whatever the LinkedIn profile URL, whatever you have on the left side, along with the profile photo, and then put all your organizations or skills, whatever you have, along with what are the innovation or community work that you have done. So as Harneet mentioned that submitting an application for taking part into CreatorCon, call for content, devies, all those content into one bundle up section. But my choice is always picking up and putting top best of your top three, which you can talk about confidently into your interview. So always remember that your CV is what gets you to the interview, but your communication is what will get you a job, right?
So you got a
So
really
those are
interesting
my
point
thoughts.
from a resume completely in JSON. So
That's a good one.
Uh,
Well,
so
I would love
we need to
to
parse it, right? We need to parse else resume.
nice. Nice.
So I think this is a personal question. I think we haven't prepared for this one though. But you actually look for something outside of ServiceNow as well on a resume. So say people who have done maybe AWS side of the certifications, GCP, Azure certifications, or things like maybe not like technical certifications, but stuff outside of that as well. So do you prefer people with ServiceNow plus certain other skills as well? Like does
So and this is a confusing term because we use out of the box in ServiceNow, but out of the box is never out of ServiceNow, right? So it's a good skill. I have seen. So there are various aspects I'll talk about. When I started in ServiceNow, in the company ServiceNow, I did a lot of Azure certifications because I was working in integrations or the Azure platform and integrating Azure with ServiceNow. So I was using Azure pipelines, Azure DevStack, Azure Inter-ID, Azure AD, everything. Now, again, however, I have not updated my Azure certifications, but it's always good to put technical as well as non-technical certifications into your resume. An example being if you are an architect, right? So you would do TOGAF certification, you would do other certifications, right? You'll try to put that into your profile, and that's good enough. If you are let's say a profile of agile or scrum master, you will put all your agile certifications. So it's always an edge. An edge depends on what kind of profile or what kind of opening you are applying to. If you are a technical consultant, if you're a success architect, then ServiceNow certifications matter. But if you're also applying to a customer success manager, let's say, right? So all those agile certifications, to other customer success certifications comes in handy along with that. So process, technical, techno-functional kind of CV is always better than just technical.
and you rightly said, Earl's probably mentioned that as well, and I think Ishan was mentioning that earlier as well. I think it depends on what role you're applying for. So, how technical do you want to go? How people oriented you want to go on your resumes? What different sort of certifications you may or may not want to include? I guess, yeah, it just depends on what role you're applying for.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah.
Mm.
So this is one of the again, this is the tips I used to always use drafting my resume or telling someone else to draft their resume is I'll pick out some of and these days you have Chat GPT and all those prompts, so it becomes more easier. But always pick the answer from the question, right? So that means, and what I mean is always pick the kind of words in your resume as the job description says, right? Whatever they are asking, and as also said, right, I have three kind of resumes. He was joking enough. So always have those targeted lines in your resumes to match with the job you're applying for, so that when AI runs the background job onto your resume, it gives 90% plus. Okay, you are on those top 1% candidate. Okay, Ishan is going to be the next vice president, right? So let's go for it.
So recently I came across one resume for the interview I was taking, and I was really surprised the way that, we've been talking about resumes getting rejected at the software level through the scan. Now, this guy, what he did was, it was a textual resume, but what he did, he took, I, I think that's what he did, because I got the PDF while I was taking that interview. So that was all image. So he might have just taken out the snippets of the actual resume, and he put it in a new word, and that's what he applied with. So you know that's like going next level smart, I would say, but the does the job maybe. Right.
That's a smart, smart age thinking, I would say. And again, I remembered one more story of one candidate who sent me a resume to review. And what she did was she had embedded a YouTube link into her resume, so that when you click on it, it would give an intro, and it was a playlist of three videos, right? It would give the projects that he, and whatever you are interested in seeing, just go into that section. In fact, it was different chapters into the same video she had. So it
Nice.
was an intro plus the implementations that she has done, and then career aspirations or any other kind of role that she is looking into. So that was another one unique resume that I found.
Nice.
That is indeed like really unique. Like you putting out your own YouTube video to introduce yourself. I guess. I mean, I haven't thought about it, but yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if I was to interview again, I would probably use that method.
Right.
Unique.
uh, Nice. And like, as we are talking about Gen AI and new things that are coming in into the ServiceNow world from then to now, like there were workflows earlier, Flow Designer today, and maybe Gen AI Flow Designer tomorrow, and it is there right now. So any market trends that you'd like to talk about above uh, that are.
So one of the market trends that I see that should be into your profile, and whenever any whenever any job opening comes from for a mid-level position, let's say for a for a senior level, right? So there is principal, there is senior, there is manager, senior manager, then top of the stack and below the stack, right? But if any profile comes in for that mid section, I always try to look into the CV, what kind of different hats a person has, wore in different projects. So can if I want to put him or her as a developer, is she good enough or is he good enough? If I want to put her as a architect in front of the customer, or as an advisory consultant, or I want to do a POC or into the pre-sales, has that person done enough into their resume to talk about? And if that maybe there's a ramp up that they need, but if I put him or her right in the day one, or a new project in front of him or her, are they capable enough, or have they wore different hats into different projects? That's what I try to look into, because you do not want a specialized, and this is coming off the trend that I have seen from in my 15 years of career span, that you do not need specialized people who are working on to, let's say, jelly scripting, right? So okay, today is jelly scripting, but tomorrow it can be something different, entirely different, and you have to adapt to it. So people who are adaptable, and people who have wore different hats into different projects, right, they are the most again, survival of the fittest into the society, into the community.
Yeah.
I guess this goes back into service-based organizations as well, because I actually come from that background. So it does happen that at times the project doesn't have a requirement for a developer. You may need to step in as a tester, or you may need to step in as a business analyst. So having played all those roles, having wore those hats across different domains, gives you the flexibility when you're trying out for the next sort of job. So if you're really good at business analysis, and you are sort of good in talking to this customer, trying to draft the stories at the back of it, trying to refine the stories, talking to the architects, probably it gives you a career path as well. So I think, yeah, wearing different hats, probably talking about those hats in your actual interview as well, is a really good trait, because then if somebody's interviewing you, they might not just look at you as a developer, they also look at you as developer come tester come BA plus architect. So he has played different roles, so we are getting a package, not just a developer.
Yeah. And one of the pro tips, that is, this is exclusive tip that I will give to anyone who's watching this. So always be trustworthy in whatever content you write, right? Because every section of your resume, you should have a point of view, right? And it should be elaborative, so that you know the background of what it is referring to. If I am not an architect, and if I mention into my resume, okay, I have worked as a solution architect in blah blah blah, project, then if something comes up, again, from the enterprise level, from the architecture level, if I'm not able to answer, my entire 90% of the work goes in vain, right? So
Mm.
you again, always think that you're the interviewer who's taking your interview is 100 times smarter than you.
Yeah. Mm. Nice.
So really nicely talked about what goes into a resume, what stands it out, what should be your landing page like. There are certain things which are turnoffs as well. Like, what should we not include in the resume? Because I guess, yeah, we all three there, and I think we've seen a lot of resumes in our careers. But have you come across certain things? Anubhav, probably will start with you. Like things that you thought shouldn't be there in the resume, but it's still there.
Okay, so I'll again pick my top three, because I always love being love picking like top three. One is bunch of projects. I absolutely will not recommend anyone putting bunch of projects to read each project start date, end date, project description. No, I do not want that. I do not like seeing that into the resumes. Summary is good enough. Top three customers, good enough for me. That's it. um, I don't like seeing resume which are not balanced enough to mention your customer, or career skills versus professional aspirations. So let's say, you know if I mention 50% of my projects, 50% of my projects, my skills, blah blah blah, and just 50% is all filled with my certifications and my blogs. Anubhav Kapoor has done this, blah blah blah. No, I'm not applying for developer advocate. I'm applying for a project. I'm applying for a position which has customer visibility. Or if I'm applying for a project which is software developer, core product development, then it would be entirely different. So it depends upon what kind of position you're applying for. But I read that. Um, Third of my point is, I don't like seeing long resumes which you have 7 to 8 pages of resume. I keep it, the best is one. the recommended is two, right? So as shorter, as crisp, as better. Right? If you have hyperlinks to share, it's on my wish if I want to read that. Or you can share your GitHub or different like example was YouTube videos, right? So if you want to share additional content, you might mention the tiny URLs into there, but the maximum pages it can go is two. Do not increase more than that.
The placement of this information is also key,
Yeah.
right? So
Mm.
I think you've talked about your projects, you've talked about your actual summary of your career, but then putting these sort of additional links maybe down the resume would be more. Do you think like it's more preferable? Like if people want to look at it, they can. If not, there's additional information for you anyway out there.
Right. So no harm if it can fit into the couple of pages format. But again, depends upon what kind of profile I'm applying to. If I'm applying for a developer associate, right, what Earl does or what Pranav does. So if I'm applying for those positions, then I would definitely mention my personal achievements or community collaboration into it. If I'm applying for a architect, then I would not be putting in so much stuff into there, because again, most of my accomplishments would be with the customers, right? And
Mhm.
community involvement would be, even if it's great, it's not desired or it's not mandatory. It's nice to have, but not mandatory. So you should have your sections divided or buckets divided, whatever which position you're applying for. Must, nice to have, and no, it can't be into them.
Nice. And again, like on the same point, is there any, specific, I know we've already spoken about this, but like any specific format or structure to follow, or just it should be like sequential, you know, divided in different sections, like as you spoke.
So so I'll go from very generic to specific kind of layout in my profile. So whenever I start with, I'll mention about the projects that, again, my summary and whatever skills I have, if any major POCs or accreditation, accomplishments that I have done on the project, and then maybe mention about the top end customers, about the summary of those projects, whatever unique I have contributed to it, and probably at the last, mentioning about the miscellaneous, like
Mm.
my um,
Maybe like run a scrum every day, like
knowledge speaker or blah blah blah,
yeah.
and the things I don't, again, would, and that was an additional point underneath which I forgot to mention. I would not mention my, if I'm single or married. Again, I
Yeah.
see those resumes, 3 out of 10 resumes which mention those details. So absolute no for that.
And the other bit is career objectives as well. I've seen a lot of resumes coming through where they talk about their career objectives. Now, career objectives still make sense when you're starting a career, but not when you're already experienced, I guess. I mean,
Mm.
how you guys about it before, but
Yeah, Ishan, you want to go first?
Yeah, even I think about the same lines. I still remember like when I first created my resume, I did have a career objective in there, but if I put that in today, I don't think it will make sense. So I do have a like a small 3-4 line summary at the top of my resume, which basically talks about what I do, what all I've done, and what I uh, what is the value that I bring to the table, but not that okay, I want to be this. Like that is something that I do get asked in the interviews when I'm having them. Where do you look at up 5 years from now, and those sort of questions, but not yeah. And I totally agree with you.
Yeah, I would second that, because a summary, maximum 4 pointer summary is more than enough to mention, to highlight whatever your desires are from this, opening. And when you land into the interview mode, you can highlight your aspirations or slash objectives, whatever you are trying to leverage, or you can ask your interviewer. And this is again where you can have a second round of live session, Ishan, when what to ask for when you are in front of an interview, right? And when an interview says, okay, ask me some questions, then what will you ask? So what are those one to one to or one to many questions that you would go for? uh, yeah, but four pointer summary is more than enough. And again, 4 pointer, when I said 4 pointer, 1 point should not be like 25 words. It should be maximum 12 words. So, 4, 12, 2. That's how. So, four pointers, 2 pages, and 12 words of maximum sentence should be.
And yeah, again, I've seen this resumes. I mean, I've seen this on a junior level profiles, but not on senior anymore. But things like spell mistakes on the resume or writing snow on as ServiceNow. I guess these are like really big. I guess even formatting. So sometimes people just don't look at the way they're formatted, or they might have converted their words into PDF and they haven't had a look at how that PDF has come through. I guess if you're
So,
selling your resume is in the right format, or if you're making mistake on it, I guess you're not selling yourself properly then.
right, and with lot of AI tools coming in, so usually when you use tools like Copilot or ChatGPT, they usually they hardly make mistakes into their content, and they rewrite the content. Maybe give you a number of options where you have an option, to choose from, and you can set the tone into your. So whatever context, whenever I use Teams or whenever I use any, I have to write some text. I open a Word document, I write my content, and whenever I have to write any blog, right, I write my content, select all, Copilot, use the tone, bring it to the nice nice layout or nice presented way. So using these AI tools has made life a lot more simpler with spell checks,
Yeah, exactly.
for the past.
Right. And just while we've been talking about resumes, a lot of time we also see, when we, on a lot of job applications, there is also not many times it's mandatory to submit. Most of the time it's just optional, but cover letters. So, what are your thoughts about cover letters? Because if you ask me, I'm too lazy to submit it. But yeah.
So I'll say, till in my interview experience, I have seen only three cover letters till now. And most of the cover letters have gone to the hiring manager or to the resource manager, whoever has asked for the profile. So maybe in technical profiles, I will avoid creating a cover letter. But if you do need to mention it, and these sort of cover letters are now being replaced by asking questions before you apply for a job,
Mm,
onto portal, onto LinkedIn, or any other
mm,
job portal. So yeah, the initial screenings on coming of this AI age, a lot of things like cover letters have are now deprecated. I'll say. Yeah.
nice.
So lot of audience who are the hiring managers, if they're listening to us, would not agree with us.
I think cover letter will be like way back in. I mean, this is when our parents used to have those cover letters attached with their resumes to talk about why they have interest in this job role. And again, they
Mm,
used to courier it. I guess back in the days, so we didn't had like internet to apply for roles. I guess it made more sense then, and I think when the digital era came in, I think that format just came through. But I haven't a lot of the job openings now asking for cover letters. I think it used to be there. It used to be there before, but it's gradually
nice.
declining.
Nice.
Okay,
Yeah,
what else?
totally. Yeah. I mean, I've got a like I just want to do a like a key takeaways at the end of the show, but we got like maybe like just one or two questions more to go for you, Anubhav.
Absolutely. Yeah, good.
Right. So any like we've been talking about experienced candidates, but there are candidates who don't have much experience as well. Any 2 cents for them? Like how can they break their first role by having a great resume?
So, and a pretty interesting question, I would say, because it was way back when I took the interview for any of the trainees or entry level positions. So the one thing you always used to like with those people who have done internship or they are into entry level jobs or they're making their way from another world to ServiceNow world. That's called next gen program of ServiceNow. But the unique thing I have noticed about them working and mentioning in their resumes is accreditations. A lot of certifications that they have done into ServiceNow. What small projects they have, even if it is non-service now, it's worth mentioning what is the summary and what you have contributed into those projects, right? Another thing being you know how collaboratively you have worked with. So there might be projects now. Again, there are less than 10% of the positions which are individual contributors, right?
Mhm.
Most of the times you are delivering with the team, working with the team, and delivering, creating stories or those sort of things. But so the things that stands out with their resume is how collaboratively they have worked with teams, right? Maybe it is a 3-member team or 4-member team, but have they done some program or have they prepared for any certifications together? What are the notes they took? Those kind of things. But it's really the small projects and the accreditations that
Yeah,
uh,
done.
they can all write in their resumes, or maybe internships or small non-service now tasks that they have done into other projects.
Nice, great. Mm, yeah, I think that's uh, that's the one thing. I have got a like a small sort of tip as well on this side. Maybe just having some building out, because you got the developer instance for ServiceNow. Building out stuff in ServiceNow and putting that as an experience as well. So if you maybe you build some catalog forms, let's say, it's just having them as experience, so that the other person can ask questions on that, like what was your thought process, just to understand. So hmm,
That's a great tip. Yeah.
nice. Harneet, do you have anything? uh,
No, I think really, I was just thinking about that point. So when you said, adding stuff that you've done on your personal instance on your resumes, because it might not just be the people who are just passing out from college, but it could be people who are transitioning their careers or people who
mhm,
might have taken a long break and then coming back to the the service now world probably as a new fresher. I think for them to justify that what they've done, obviously they may or may not done have internships, right? The personal instance, they've got like enormous amount of stuff they could have done, and writing that in the resume, I guess that really puts a lot of good positive things for you, so that you didn't had any sorry, you didn't had any exposure in the real life world, but you went ahead, you learned those things on your personal instance, and you've written them down on your resume. I guess that's a really big achievement for me, I guess.
Yes, I remember Ishan one, as Harmeet talked about. I remember one of the incidents where after the COVID, there were many medical professionals, those who work in the paramedics, those who were nurses. They were trying to switch their careers again,
Mm.
all noble professions, but they were trying to switch their careers in the COVID time from paramedics to ServiceNow, right? And I, along with ServiceNow, there are a lot of good initiatives that I love within this company. So one of the programs which was there in ServiceNow, I almost helped in transitioning those, setting up weekly calls with them, mentoring them, and in telling them, or coaching them how to enable and work onto ServiceNow. And now they are, one of them is platform architect, and I love that part of ServiceNow. So, as you mentioned about one of the developer instances, I'll say, maybe doing some small projects onto that. There are a lot of good projects or things to try out. Let's an example being many utilities onto developer share, ServiceNow.com, which you can leverage, and where there are many problems on the community which you can solve still unanswered or unreplied. You can replicate them into your instance and propose solutions for that. So that's
Nice.
the small task make big
Yeah.
achievements.
Nice. Yeah. Thanks, Anubhav.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah. And with the or almost just at the top of the hour, I've been taking few notes just to summarize the session. So, like a few things. First one is like, our resume is like our breathing document. Like we have to keep it updated on the while as we are going. Like even though we are not planning our next move, we have to keep it up and about updated, right? Having a USP on our resume, like quantifying what have we have been doing, so how we have been delivering the value. So third one would be, using ServiceNow resume on now learning, having that updated as well and putting that in our resume. And again, we don't have to populate our resume too much, so maybe having like top three clients, top three projects that we have got, limiting the number, not putting in everything, limiting the number of pages, maybe to a couple at max. And you know, sh- having a proper format of the resume, placing the items correctly, showing all your accomplishments, and yeah, the one thing that we have touched upon at the start of the show is networking. It's equally important as well. So yeah, I mean, these are few things that I noted down. Unless Anubhav and Ranit, you have anything to add?
Oh, it's good. It was a nice chat. Yeah.
Nice.
Your note taking skills are really good.
First time, Ranit. Nice. All right. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Anubhav, and thank you, Ranit. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Hope you like the and find it information.
Thank you, Shan. Thank you,
Thank you.
Anubhav.